every day.
Back at it again like another left. Well, back at it. Small hiatus. So, what I want to do now is just quarterly reports for the Browns. So, I want to do reports every 4 games and take our assessments. Most of the times, being Browns fans, we want that instant gratification. We want that instant reaction after each game. I'm learning to take like steps back and look back at the big overall picture of things. So, as we sit right now, we're still tied for first place in the division at 2-2. An honest Browns fan would tell you that this team should be 4-0. Now, I honestly believe we should be 4-0 at this point, but it's the NFL. No win is easy. Nothing is granted. Everything is earned. Now, there has been some positives for the first 4 weeks, but if I'm being 100% honest, there is a lot of negatives, and it's negatives that stemmed over from last year and the previous years itself. Problem is that last year, Browns kind of had a scapegoat in Baker Mayfield. All of the issues, all of the bad mistakes, all of the losses was the root cause was Baker Mayfield. And I don't want this to be a finger pointing video. We're doing better after 4 games than we historically do, but with the collection of talent that this team has and the lapses that this team has is directly inexcusable. It's the same thing repeatedly over and over and over. So it leads us to believe that 2 things are happening every time that the Browns play, and it's been the same 2 things for the last 3 years. Points management with time management. We often leave empty points on the field. Adjustments. We do not adjust. We don't take easy points. Jacoby Brissett is your backup quarterback, and you're inside of the 3. Run the ball 2 times. Get a touchdown. Nick Chubb. This is a reoccurring thing. Nick Chubb can't be stopped. Nick Chubb can't be tackled. Why keep trying to reinvent the wheel? You know what you are. You are a running team. Why are you leaning more towards pass with a backup quarterback rather than your all-pro, arguably the best running back in the league, and then you have another top 15 guy in Kareem Hunt? That's knowing your personnel over your system. And I've said videos in the past where I felt like the coach puts his scheme above everything and he does not coach to his players' strengths. Now, this is an example how he's not coaching to his players' strengths. Problem that's going to lie here, and I pray that we don't go through like another firing and another regime, but if I'm being 100% honest, I love the fact that the Cleveland Browns went and got Deshaun Watson. Completely love that fact. But if I'm being honest, in my mind, Kevin Stefanski is not the right coach for him. And he's not been the right coach the last couple years since the coach of the year. The league has figured out what Stefanski can do and can't do, and Stefanski has not made adjustments since his first year in the league. And I'm being 100% honest with this. There has been no adjustments. We can move the ball, but once we get past the 50, it becomes a weird pull and push game where they'll use Nick Chubb to get over to the 50, and then they'll bring Kareem Hunt in, and then they'll like pass happy. I guess it's analytics, but we often run away from things that don't work and got us there in order to play the predictability. The Atlanta Falcons did something that we should have did. Quarterback was in trouble. By no means Jacoby was in trouble, but quarterback is in trouble. Atlanta Falcons, 11 straight yards straight down your throat. And who are the running backs out there? None of them running backs had the same skill level or quality of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And if the Browns would have did that, they would have beat the Atlanta Falcons. So let's start with the first game. I knew that was going to be a W just because it's with Baker Mayfield, but also some of the shenanigans and antics that Baker, I want so much better for Baker. We want him to win. There's still a portion of people in Cleveland that want Baker Mayfield to win. But as we see with that game, the same reoccurring thing that happened in previous years happens again. Lapses in defense. So what happens is Grant Delpit busts the coverage, gives a deep touchdown. And then there's multiple bust coverages. I don't understand when you have a lead, you don't protect the sidelines. Keep everything inside of the middle of the field, almost like an umbrella. You block out of the sidelines. Players were just catching the ball running out of bounds, running out of bounds, running out of bounds. And if it didn't be for our great kicker, we would have been 0-1 after the first game. And that was all predicated on prevent defense and making the right calls. We have two bookend rushers in Clowney and Garrett. By all means, they are great pass rushers. They are great players, but you have to mix it up. Rushing 4 and dropping everyone back in soft, deep zones, it does work, but it does not work. All it takes is one bust, one communication mishap, and boom, touchdown. Everything else was given. So we go to the next week when, okay, Browns are going to tighten that up, right? So they're sitting at 1-0. Second week, they have a lead with 1:55 to go. They have a 30-17 lead. And I've seen the ridiculousness of people saying that Nick Chubb should have stayed in bounds to stay in the games. No. That game has nothing, and I repeat, that game has nothing to do with Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt running out of bounds or Nick Chubb getting points. That game has 100% to do with coaching. And this is the overlining theme here. Coaching. They lost that game because the coaches didn't know how to adjust in the last 2 minutes of the game. Albeit on defense and on special teams with the kick return with onside kicks. That's why they lost that game. I don't know what Joe Woods is telling the defenders to do. I don't understand why the sidelines are open, why the flats are open in the sidelines, why a team historically in the Jets, who pretty much lost to everyone else, they're not good, are able to make a 13-point comeback in a minute and 55 seconds with no timeouts. That is inexcusable. That is a fireable offense. But honestly, the way that this coaching is going, I don't see one coordinator getting fired. I see they're all together. They're not going to throw one person under the bus, and that's great as far as like camaraderie goes. But that was one of the most inexcusable Browns losses to ever happen, being a Browns fan. You don't blow a lead for that, and luckily the rest of our people in our division lost. But this is the easy portion of the schedule. Originally, when I did my schedule game, I mocked them to be 4-1 at this period in time, because I thought their only loss would come from Pittsburgh. But 2-2 is probably a gloom scenario, because they need at least 6 wins for Deshaun Watson before he gets back. So right now we're sitting at 2-2. All right, next game, Steelers game, business as usual. A couple questionable calls inside of the Steelers game, but here's another underlying thing. These games are becoming harder than what they should be, and the reason why these games are harder than what they should be is because of coaching. And I want to emphasize that there is no Baker Mayfield to blame this year. If you don't have success with this talented roster, you can't look at the quarterback and say, hey, the quarterback didn't put me in the right position, because quite frankly, Jacoby is playing like a starting caliber quarterback. Our problem is when to run plays, when to pass, when to blitz, how to manage time. That is the overlining thing for the last 3 games that I'm showing right now, that we're going through right now. And then the 4th game just happened a little over 24 hours ago, which is the Falcons game 2. That's all about effort. And that's all about coaching. You can't leave points on the board with a backup quarterback. I'm going to be that guy to say it. He's not the right coach for us. We don't manage the 2-minute warnings well. We don't coach to our players' strength. And we don't run the right defense to put our players in good position. The same thing that happens with offense in the run game is the same thing that happens with defense in the passing game. You have a top 5 man-to-man corner in Denzel Ward, and you're telling him to run a soft zone. He's not traveling with the best receiver each game. You're paying him $100 million to run a soft zone. If you just want a cornerback to run a soft zone, don't pay the man $100 million. If you're going to pay Denzel Ward, and that was an excellent pick today. If you're gonna pay Denzel Ward $100 million, and I know Denzel probably wants to do this, like, here, who's the best receiver? Give me that guy. I follow that guy for the rest of the game. Take him out the game. What did AJ Terrell do to Amari Cooper? They tried a whole bunch of formations to get AJ Terrell off of Amari Cooper. Terrell didn't have that. He traveled with Amari Cooper the whole game. And that's coaching to your players' strengths. I know John Johnson works well in the box, and I also think Grant Delpit will work better in the box, but putting them out in deep zones, that's not to their strengths. Now, Greg is a great zone corner. I like Martin Emerson as well, too. Martin Emerson has been well. It's that we just don't keep it simple. We're too cute. And you could always be the talented underachiever. There are so many talented underachievers in this world. It's ridiculous. Where you have this and that and that and this and that and this, but you don't implement your plan successfully. We don't, with the talent that we have, implement our plan successfully. And that's going to lead to either mediocrity or it's going to lead to defeat. And the reason why, the Browns are 2-2 in spite of their coaches. In previous years, we'll be 0-4. But because of the collection of talent that we have accumulated over the years, bad draft pick, we're 2-2 in spite of our coaching. Coaching has been the biggest issue, and I pray when Deshaun gets back, it gets better, but we can't just sit here and be naive and think to the fact that Deshaun Watson solves all of these issues, because it's deeply rooted and it's inside of the blood, it's inside of the building at this point. He needs to turn over play calling and manage all aspects of the game. So, Browns fans, I get it. We all get it. There's always next year. But this year, it's going to be.